Hello. Sorry, I'm 7 minutes late. Fashionably late, like I always say. But thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here today. Yesterday we were talking about how give me a second here. Yesterday we were talking about how to handle reactions, or how to handle a pushback, right? When you're trying to do the process and all that. How we tend to react, or the reactions that we receive when it comes to deciding to change, and the guilt that comes along with it, right? So today what we're going to talk about is a different type of guilt. It's even a more fun one. Today we're going to talk about how sometimes, and this is mainly for like the older kid, how sometimes we tend to, or the older kid tends to be that like, what's it called, like that, how can I explain it? They become their mom's best friends, right? And is that emotional support that you're giving your mom, or is that like you're starting to be your mom's little confidant? I saw it a lot with my brother and my sister, and maybe because I was the middle one and I was like so trapped into trying to be, I don't know, I guess into trying to be something that fit the mold of fitting in the family. I was really trapped in all that stuff that I didn't allow myself to go through that, or to, I guess because I didn't I didn't know how to approach all those emotions at once, maybe. Not quite sure. But, or I was just too wrapped up in whatever nonsense we do at our teenage years, you know, being a rebel, being chaotic, trying new things and all that nonsense. But what I'm trying to get at is that sometimes our parents become, let's say for example, if your mom told you everything about her fights with your dad, right? When you were like 10 years old. That wasn't really bonding. That was more of like, and I don't want to say this word, but it's more of like a, I guess like the safe way to say it would be like emotional enmeshment. And it's pretty much your mom using you as like emotional support for her, right? In our culture, we love to say my mom and I are best friends. Who says that actually? I know there's like a lot of people that are pretty close to their parents, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually pretty cool whenever somebody has that bond, right? Hello guys, thank you for joining. Thank you, Linda, Nini, everybody who's watching. I honestly can't really see much, but thank you guys. So in our culture, we love to say my mom and I are best friends. I unfortunately didn't experience that because, like I said, I was too many walls. But I saw it a lot in my brother and my sister. So were you your mom's best friend at 8, or were you like their therapist? Because I see it a lot, and we see many movies, let's say for example, where the mom is, you know, having this breakdown in the parent, and they have to like, the kid has to like pretty much pick up the pieces and And go ahead and like and share if you guys are interested in what I'm hitting right now, or if you want somebody to listen close to this, because I know there's some people that want to say things, but you can't really say it straightforward, right? So, there's many movies that describe a kid picking up the pieces of a parent being broken, right? Whether it's from addiction or anything else, the kid is always there to like kind of pick up everything and you know, telling people to, I don't know if it's the oldest. Let's say it's the oldest and they have to put everything. I know my brother was kind of like my dad. The oldest has to pick up everything, make sure all the kids are fed, make sure everybody's cool. The kids go to school, right? Because sometimes as a parent, we get too wrapped up in our feelings. And that's horrible because an 8-year-old shouldn't have to do that. 10-year-old, 13-year-old. Because you're supposed to learn from your parents those things, not just kind of like figure it out on your own. That's when you grow up and you start being a person who's dependent of yourself, and you don't know how to ask for help, and you become kind of like submerged in your own issues to the point where sometimes it gets too much to handle. I'm that person. I've been that person that is always trying my best to not ask for help, because it's horrible to have to ask for help. Because I said I got it. But there's times where you just gotta talk to someone, gotta vent, gotta say something, or gotta listen to new ideas, new perspectives, because you're always gonna be your worst critic. So, if you're the one that's like drying their tears, listening to how awful your dad is or your siblings are to your mom, maybe their siblings are to her, or imagining her emotions, that's not friendship. That's enmeshment. And that's the most taboo thing to say in the Hispanic culture, right? Your parent made you their partner. There's many times that my like if you were to see, because my brother looks older, I feel like he carries a lot of weight that's not his. My brother looks old as fuck, and he's only a year and a half older than me. I'm 36, he's gonna be 38 this year. And my mom and him were like best friends. Hey, Rebecca. My mom and him were like best friends. Like, it came to the point where my brother would ask permission. And I'm gonna say he had to man up because we didn't have a dad at home. So he was working and going to high school, and he actually gave up the opportunity to go to college so that he can help my mom raise us. And even though we wouldn't get along the best, like, I just wanted to keep him safe all the time because I knew he was just a big teddy bear that needed protection, and that was just a little boy. He was like the little, if you see like pictures of him, he's like all güerito, blonde, and like he looks like a little wet chicken, a little wet chickie, a little pollito mojado. He's fucking adorable, man. He's like hella ugly now. I'm kidding, but he picked up the pieces. He pretty much stepped up and came through, you know? And was that his role to play? No, it wasn't. But it was something hard that my mom obviously was going to find support in him, because that's what she knew. A lot of our parents, my mom comes from 15 kids. From the 15 kids, I want to say she's like, there was 2 pregnancies before her that didn't make it, and then it was her, and then it was 10 more kids after that. But before the 10 more kids came, she was by herself with my grandma for a couple of years, for a few years. I don't know exactly how many years, but I know that she was by herself with my grandma for a while. And because my grandma lived, back in the day, they lived in a very small, hey Ashley, hey Angela, Debbie, thank you for joining. And because they lived like in Mexico, and they lived where my grandma's house is now, but at that time it was very small, right? Well, my grandma's not here anymore, but her house, it was one of the first rooms that was made, right? So she got to like be my grandma's confidant, because my grandma unfortunately had experienced a lot of pushback from her family too, because my grandpa wasn't somebody rich. So, and he was a little bit older than her. So that was like a lot of, I know that he was a great man. But I know in the beginning, just like any other parent, you know, you're going to want to take care of your kid, and you're always going to want the best person for your kid. That's normal. So then my mom became an adult. She became a tiny adult. a little adult. And I can sit with her and ask her when she played with dolls, and she can't tell me when, because she really didn't get to play with any toys. I think that part of my love for animals comes with her, because I used to have this German Shepherd that used to hide. We lived in a little town in California, so she used to leave the house before I left to school. And she would hide, and then she would wait outside my classroom, and then she'd go with me to lunch and whatnot. She was my friend. But she had a German Shepherd that she tells me that she used to wipe her eye boogers with her dress. I think it was like a plant name or something. I don't know. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. And she was a little baby. She was a little baby that had to be an adult. And my mom's watching right now. So if you guys want to say anything nice to her, you let her know. That's Rosa right there. But did she have to carry that? No. It wasn't her pain to carry. But at the time, my grandma didn't have anybody to talk to. She didn't have anybody that could tell her that she could be friends with. Because we sometimes isolate ourselves when we get married or when we start living our own life. Because we're not very used to being out and about, right? So what happened is that there's one parent that's always going to be emotionally unavailable or abusive. My grandpa, thank God, he's a great man, but he was always working. He was always working, so my grandma stayed by herself a long time. My mom was by herself a lot of time, and there was no kids around. There was no other kids around for her to play with, so she was a little baby speaking like an adult. And for me, like, I see pictures of my mom, and I feel like she never changed. Her face is like the same. But she was treated like the surrogate spouse, right? She became my grandma's confidant. I remember for the longest time, my mom would call my grandma by her first name. She wouldn't call her mom. She would call her Celia. She pretty much was her emotional regulator. She became the man of the house or the little mother for everybody else that came after her. She looked out for 10 siblings. And by looking out, it wasn't just like babysitting. No, my mom would feed them. Like, my youngest uncle had a hard time when my mom got married because he used to sleep with my mom in the same bed. That was like his mom. They were all my mom. My mom was their mom at some point. And right now that my grandma's not here, there's still a foundation because of my mom. And without knowing, they treat her the same way. They expect her to handle all the rejection, all the pushback that we as kids sometimes cause for our parents. She pretty much portrayed the mother for so long that she became a replacement when my grandma wasn't there. But that wasn't her being a carry. Now my mom is super anxious. She's an amazing woman, and she doesn't even value herself or see that she's able to create so many more things at her age. And I'm always trying to encourage her to freaking just get out of the box, you know? If it doesn't happen, then it didn't happen. It wasn't meant to be, but just let it out. I feel like the one time that she's able to do that is when she's doing karaoke, because I think music is very important in her family. And music is important in general because the frequencies that you're playing is, like, it's like when you're listening to metal. You listen to metal and then, like, you're really, like, worked up, right? You're like, oh, yeah, let's do this. Or you're listening to hip-hop and then you think you're the baddest bitch, so you start twerking. Well, my mom, I guess she feels that. I don't know. She pretty much embodies the person that she wishes she had been. Because I feel like my mom, if she would have followed her dreams, she would have been a singer. Or maybe a model. I don't know. She has perfect features. But her parents still made her insecure about it without knowing it. Because we show love in joking ways sometimes and joke about our insecurities or our facial aspects. And we don't realize how much you're hurting that person, right? So she became pretty much aware that love requires special attention, but it suffocates you. And it develops into not knowing who you are. She pretty much became my grandma's identity. I can see my brother relates a lot with my sister, with my mom. And my sister, even though she pushes back a lot, I know for a fact that her and my mom are like sisters. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you're making your 10-year-old, your 7-year-old, your 13-year-old grow up and not experience what childhood is. I remember climbing trees. I remember learning how to drive because one of my uncles taught me how to drive. My dad didn't teach me. My dad got mad at me when I drove an 18-wheeler. An 18-wheeler, okay? It had the trailer and everything in the back. And my uncle Danny, he from my dad's side of the family, he challenged me. He said, "Come on." He was always pushing me. And it's crazy because sometimes you start seeing your dad being... I used to see that with my dad a lot. How my dad was a great dad with everybody else and their mama, but he sucked being a dad to me. I know that my aunt did a lot for him for a very long time. Maybe things didn't end how they should have. But she stayed with him day and night at the hospital for almost 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. And even after that, she cared for him. There comes a point where people reach their limits because they don't express their needs. And you need to express your needs. You need to say what you want, because if not, people are going to keep treating you the same way. People are going to continue to walk all over you. You say, "Oh yeah, so-and-so doesn't respect me." But do you respect yourself? And if you don't, it's fine too, because you know what? That's what you're here for. That's what you're watching, because you want to unlearn all those habits, and you're never too old to change. The moment that you hit rock bottom and then you start questioning all your actions, your self-worth, everything that you did actually mattered. That's the moment of truth. That's the moment that you are able to get up and try again. But this time, try with different things. Go with your gut feeling. As crazy as things sound, just go with your gut feeling. If you guys are watching, go ahead and follow, like, share, help me reach my goal. Or just simply comment. Like, I want to know what you guys are thinking, if it's something that you relate to. But think about it. You end up taking somebody else's pain, right? And then what happens later on? Well, then we start passing it to our kids. And then you start to realize that you're acting the same way that your parents act with you. Like I said, I would have loved to have that relationship, but you know what? Maybe I didn't get to experience that because I already had a bunch of stuff that I had on my back. And I think that maybe I already dealt with my brother's pain, with my sister's pain, because I had dealt with so much pain myself that I didn't want them to go through that. And I overprotected, I became possessive because I wanted to protect them from that. And then I was the crazy one, and then I was the too much one, I was the one that was too toxic. Because I didn't know how to regulate my love, I became suffocating to them. And I don't blame them for feeling the way that they did, no. Because I mean, it's all they knew too, you know? So how do you know that you're doing this to your kids, or how do you know that you're the emotional enmeshment of your parents, and if it's healthy or not? Let's say, for example, when a partner gets too close, you panic and you push them away, right? In my case, that's what I do, or what I used to do. I used to always self-sabotage. I used to always feel security, and I'd be like, damn, there's no drama here. The lamp is flickering. Because in my childhood, I saw everybody growing up in chaos. And I thought that love was chaos. Now, you start to also push them away because, is it because you're suffocating and you need your freedom? Because you're used to not having anybody that cares? Or is it... Or do you try to compensate with material things? Because that's what you were given when you were growing up, in order to shut you up and stop crying. Or is it over responsibility? You feel physically sick if your mom she's not calm, or if your mom... I remember my mom having any type of financial issues made me feel so guilty when I would get my check. Especially if I bought something for me. Because I felt like, oh my god, my mom didn't have this. And I remember the day that she didn't have anything to eat. And everybody else had something going on, but because she didn't have money to pitch in, and that was the day that I was like, no, I'm going to do my best to make sure that this doesn't happen. Because if I have enough to be able to spend on stupid shit, then I should have enough to be able to help my mom. And you know, it's crazy that a lot of my my coworkers would judge me for that. They'd say, like, why are you helping your mom financially? That's your mom. Like, you have your bills. And I'd be like, yeah, but that lady gave me my life. How can I ever repay her? I need to make sure she's okay in order for me to be okay. And there was many nights that I would feel so frustrated and so stressed out because, let's say, my check wasn't going to come out to the way that I wanted it to. And I wasn't going to be able to give her enough. And there was times that I didn't have any, but I made sure that she had some. I took in my sister, and she thinks that I screwed her over here and there, but you know what? Not once did I ask her for her to pay anything unless I really had to, because she humiliated me whenever I would ask. But she lived with me. I paid for her insurance as long as she helped me help my mom. So, there's also the no secrets, right? You feel guilty if you don't tell your mom everything. Privacy feels like betrayal. And I think that's probably one of my mistakes. I was too private. That when it came to actually asking for help, I didn't know how to ask. My last divorce, I was separated for months. I want to say like 6 months, and my mom didn't find out. I got separated like in April, May. My mom didn't know until like Christmas because I had to tell her that I was separated. And it was so embarrassing because I felt like a failure. Thankfully, I got through that, and now I'm with my wife and with my current wife, and she supported me all the whole time. And she's always told me, as long as you're okay, I'm always going to love your partner. If you're happy, I'm happy. And I'm sure that's what everybody wants, right? Everybody wants their kids. There's many parents that say, like, my goal in life is all set if my kid has a job, if my kid has their life all set. Well, you know what? They can't do that if you don't get it together too. Because we're little sponges and we learn from people around us, from our environment. You may not tell things. My mom didn't tell me what my dad was doing. She never spoke bad about my dad. I can honestly tell you that even though that man was horrible to her, my mom was an amazing wife. I felt angry to see her with him because she deserved so much better. She is gorgeous. She has so much light. She loves to sing. She loves to dance. She doesn't need to drink to have fun. She was with my dad for I don't know how many years. And then when she finally had to separate, because I feel guilty for that. And I'm always going to feel guilty for that, because even though I know it's not my fault, I still feel some sort of way about that. Because it was over something stupid. I'm always going to remember when it's like a blur in my mind, in a way, because I remember that argument that I had with my dad when he hit me with the belt and I had a mark on my leg. And I remember my dad pulling my mom's hair and tapping her face and telling her not to get involved. He did this number to her. And that's probably one of the last times that I probably sat and cried in my mom's arms when she was rocking me and I was begging her for us to just leave him. I was so angry at her that he was my dad. I remember I used to tell her, like, why? Why did you pick him to be my dad? But I didn't understand anything. And she didn't know how to explain it to me. She felt sad and she didn't know how to make it better because she didn't even know how to help herself. And it hurt. It hurt to see her hurting because I know that she deserves so much more. And then I had to see her cleaning bathrooms at Kmart. And let me tell you, from her experience, females are disgusting when it comes to bathrooms. She didn't have anything to eat at times. She would live off of ice. Not the bad one, but she would be chewing ice all day long in order for her to not get thirsty. She lost so much weight. She hadn't worked. And I don't know how. I was 10 when my parents separated. My brother was 11 and a half. So at least 13 years without working. And then she goes into the city that she doesn't know. She didn't have papers. And she went all the way to the big city and she risked it. And thank God there's so many people that helped her. Even though we have those the generational hurt transferred to us, I can tell you that even after the essay, I still hold many memories that I cherish from both sides of the family. My oldest uncle from my mom's side, the one after my mom, I was his favorite because I was the first grandkid, the first female, first niece. My brother was the oldest grandkid, so he was the first boy and the second grandkid from my dad's side. But I was the first girl from both sides. And everybody wanted me to be dressed in dresses, and I guess the 90s, so everything was too intense. And I remember going to his house after, I don't know why, I don't even know if it was like he was gonna get married, or he was already married. But he took me, and I don't even remember the ride there. I just remember being in his arms, so I was facing this way. He had this jacket that's kind of like I want to say it's that cotton type of jacket or coat. And then I had to go back because I wanted my mom. Even though I talk about how my mom and I have so many issues, it doesn't mean that I don't love her. I love my mom. And because I want to figure out how to be able to have a relationship is why I share all these things. Because it doesn't just happen to you, it happens to everyone. Earlier on my Facebook, I was talking about all the beautiful things that I hold from my aunts and uncles. My Uncle Raul is that. My tia Chelly, she used to take us to ice cream, and then she got us this little vest, a little cowboy vest for my brother and myself. And it was the sheep inside, but then it was real leather from the outside. Mine was light brown, or dark brown. My brother's was light brown. Because I used to dance I used to wear boots and a hat. I was a little vaquerita, and québrame. And her husband, she says that she chose to marry him, if I'm not mistaken, because she liked how he was with me. Did he need to be that way with me? I feel Pancho, no. He didn't. But I thank him for that. Because the other day, he messaged me for Christmas and New Year's, and I didn't even think I was going to cry for this because I had already cried earlier. But he messaged me, and even though we never talk, I know he's happy to see me when he sees me. And he's always willing to help. And they're probably the family that we got, them and my tia Claudia. My tío Luis, he used to listen to Chalino Sanchez a lot. So now when I listen to that music, I remember him and my aunt barely being dating in their dating stage. And I got to be the little chaperone. It was fun. I got to hang out with a lot of my aunts and uncles and see them how their relationship developed. My tia Ana used to think she was the singer of Ace of Base because she has an amazing voice. And then for a while I thought she was Whitney Houston because of her singing. And then there's also my tío Julio. My tío Julio got all the creativity from my grandma. He knows how to cook. He can make you a piñata from scratch. He can draw things. He can build. He can fix. He's like a little MacGyver. But he's so sucked in his, as far as I can remember, he has always felt like he's the ugly duckling. Or he's never gonna find a girlfriend because he was so ugly. But then again, to me, he was the coolest uncle because he had that Chevy. It looked kind of like an Oldsmobile. Like an old little station wagon or something, but it was a Chevy, and it was kind of like a dirt color, like a sand color. Light, very light. And I remember he used to have the best sound system. He's actually the reason why I love having a good sound system in my car. And the only type of rims that I like, or wheels, are going to be those chrome old school with the little holes because of that car. Black limo tinted windows. Cleanest car. That car was never dirty. He feels joy when he sees you trying his food. He's so creative that, man, if he had more confidence, he could have had a line of restaurants now. And he doesn't realize that the moments that we hit rock bottom are probably the best times to decide what we're going to do with our life. And then there's my tío Sergio. My tío Sergio and my tío Dani, they both took on a role that didn't belong to them. When my sister was hurting the most, they became a parent figure, a dad figure that I feel like every boy and every girl growing up needs. She felt comfortable enough to call him Papi. Papi Sergio, Papi Dani. And even though I couldn't do that, like I felt warm to know that there was somebody that was going to do that for my sister. My tío Dani has always been really close to my mom. And even though he can sometimes be a certain way, like we all can, I know he loves her. Many of my aunts and uncles met because of my mom. I know for a fact that at least Dani met his wife because of my mom. And at least Julio met his wife because of my mom. And then there's my tía Claudia. She's like my replacement mom when my mom's not there. When I was younger, my mom left to Bullhead City with my dad because, I gotta say, my mom and my dad would take trips, because my dad was a truck driver, they would sometimes take trips without us. And I used to get mad, but you know what, as an older person now, I understand that time that you need with your kid, without your kids, you know? But because he was always taunting me and telling me that my mom was his, I hated him. And I felt like everybody that came around was going to steal my mom. My nightmares are of my mom having a boyfriend and me finding out later. Because I thought that my mom having a boyfriend was her not loving me enough. But now I want her to be happy. I want her to... Man, she realized on her own she didn't need a man. And that's the beauty of it. You don't need anybody to like, reaffirm your worth. You got yourself for that, kiddo. So, like, we become our little parents' confidence, right? I saw my brother do that. Like I said, my brother, if you guys have ever seen the movie An Onward, I have never felt like a movie has hit so hard. And it was probably the easiest way to thank my brother for everything he's done for me and for my sister. And even though I don't talk to my sister, I know that my mom wants us to at some point talk. And I'm still trying to figure it out, at least to be in the same room. Because I'm really disappointed. I'm not even hurt at this point. I'm disappointed. And I'm disappointed in my mom in some way too, and I'm still trying to fix that. Every day is a battle. Every day is a new opportunity. It has a bunch of half-open doors ready for you to try. But we sit in the same spot. I literally have a dip in my bed from where I've sat many nights, many days, all the way throughout the night. Because I know what I want to do, but I can't get myself to move. So what happens, right? My mom now is older, and she doesn't sometimes understand the things that I do. And I know that it doesn't mean that she doesn't love me or that she doesn't think that I can't do them. But it's because she hasn't experienced a lot of those things herself that she doesn't understand. So it's scary. We're scared of what we don't know. And that scariness, that worriness comes out as criticism. And unfortunately, I wasn't taught how to regulate my emotions to be able to receive it as something from a good place. I receive it as criticism, as not being good enough. But I'm starting to understand that she's just worried. Now, she also needs to understand that some of the things that she says is how she truly sees me. But she needs to understand that just like she was able to get through all that stuff, she raised me. And I can say that the proudest moments and the moments that I wish I could take away are the moments that she had to work so hard. I honestly learned how to cook through the phone because I didn't get to see my mom until... Man, if I was lucky, I would see her on her days off. Because I was at school, and by the time I would get home from school, she was already at work, and she didn't get off until midnight or until 3 in the morning. Or if she went in at 3 in the morning, by the time I get home from school, she's asleep because she has to go to work at 6. And that was years. I remember one time, I think I talked about this yesterday, that I learned how to cook through the phone because I was set on doing fried rice. So I really went by my ancestors' good faith and everything when I cooked, because my mom was like, pues ahí tú le tanteas, mija, cuando le eches. Pues ahí yo le tanteaba, you know, and it came out right. I threw that rice away like 3 times, but you know what? By the 4th time, it was good. And I've been such an asshole to my mom too. I have put her through so much. And the kids, like, she loved me so much that she gave me so much freedom. And at some point, I know she said to me that she felt that she felt more confident in myself going out in public and being out alone because she knew I can handle it more than my brother that's older. She felt that I was streetwise and my brother wasn't. And I felt cool at that time to be told that. But now that I'm older, I kind of wish I would have had some limits. Because having to figure it out myself made me a person that I can't go into my mom. I wish I could go up to my mom and literally, like I'm sitting right now, to just go sit up with my mom and just curl up. Because I miss that. I used to be somebody that liked to be hugged. I used to be somebody that, man, if my aunts and uncles, most of my aunts got boyfriends when I was growing up, because when we would go to church, shit, if I thought they were cute, I was gonna go up to them and be like, "Me abrazas?" So my aunts got some pretty hot dates because of me, you know? Because I wasn't shy. Man, I used to sit in front of my house, and I used to be like, "Hey, muchacho," when the kids would come out of junior high. I was probably like 4 or 5. And I used to sit in front of my house, and then I used to be like, "Hey, muchacho," and then the girl would turn around and be like, "No, tú no. Tú, adios." But think about it, guys. Like, I didn't get to experience my mom having to depend on me. She never talked bad about my dad. And I have great memories from both sides of my family. As much pain as they have brought, I decided to stay with the good things. Just like I said, if you see my other video, take all the good things and create something good out of yourself. Just because you have a parent that's an alcoholic, it doesn't mean you have to be an alcoholic. And if you do end up that way, then maybe look back and see what caused you to lead that. What is it that you really wanted to do that you didn't do? And why didn't you do it? What's the worst that can happen if you're already rock bottom now? Or if you feel like you're already rock bottom? One of the things you need to remember is that you're always going to feel how you tell yourself to feel. Or don't you feel uncomfortable whenever somebody like looks at you and then they're like, "That color doesn't go." And the next thing you know, you're like, you feel uncomfortable because it's like, "It doesn't go with these jeans." Or "This is a match," or whatever. And it was all because like somebody just told you like, "Hey, pues, that doesn't look good." It's the same thing. Why is it so easy for us to believe the bad things? And if you're emotionally depending on your kid, let them go outside, let them play, let them have that childhood that you didn't have. Because you're going to be an adult that's going to try to overprotect your kids because you didn't experience it. What happens when, like, you see documentaries of parents that were hippies and whatnot, and they're like, "Yeah, my kid did this." You know, sex talk was a taboo in my life. Shit, I thought I was going to get pregnant with a kiss. Because when I got the sex talk, it was kind of like a, "Don't you dare." And it was just scary. I didn't lose my virginity until I was 19. And it was with the person I was going to marry. Like, I wasn't going to go around and do anything because I felt like bad luck was going to chase me and I was going to be 16 and pregnant And I did not. The last thing that I wanted was to prove my dad right. No, hell no. So don't do that to your kids. Don't do that to yourself, because if you want a solid relationship, your kids should be able to come and talk to you about anything. And you know why they don't? Because they already know you have all these worries. They already know that, I don't know, something scares you. And you know what happens later on in life? They feel guilty because they're leaving you, so they take longer to get married. Or they get married, but then, let's say the wife doesn't like the mom. Most of the time it's going to be because the boy, and it's usually in a boy-mom situation, because the boy is always trying to compare the wife to the mom, right? That's also emotional enmeshment, where you damage your kid too much to where he marries somebody that is going to portray his mom. No, you're not supposed to marry your mom. You're supposed to marry somebody that you want to see grow independently and that allows you to grow. Not somebody that's going to be washing your clothes and somebody that you're going to depend on to feed you. Because what are you going to do when they're not there? Your job as a parent is to build an independent kid, not somebody that doesn't know how to go on the bus. Somebody that doesn't know how to go get a soda from the store. A kid that can't walk home from school? Like, really? I used to walk more than a mile. In my times, I used to have to cross a river. Now, I'm kidding, no, but like, in my time, shit, I used to go on the bike. I used to sometimes walk home. There was times that I would ride my bike all the way across town and my mom didn't even know. But these kids now, there's a little bit of wind and I'm gonna get sick. Or that simply like they get out and everybody left the school. And then like they closed it, but the mom doesn't answer, so they just stay there and they're like, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna get home? The road is still there. Your feet are still there, kiddo. Start walking. They're so scared of taking that step by themselves because their mom is always taking them for them. So you don't even let your kid live their childhood. And on top of that, you make them fear their childhood. Like, that's crazy. That's why all these kids right now are so like spoon-fed. You think you're keeping your kid from what you went through? No, you're making them useless. You're making them dependent of society and all the things that you complain about how are wrong in this world. You create them at home, bro. Like you're starting at home. Freaking fix your family before you go and judge other people. And I can say that because I'm actually doing the work. It's hella lonely. It's hella quiet. It's just me and my wife hanging out. The gang is all here. No pun intended. But when you start to detach from those cycles, you're gonna feel guilty as fuck. I felt guilty. Especially if you're the kid that your mom or your dad depends on. What happens when parents separate? There's that one, and it's usually the dad that asks all the questions, right? Or you make your kids into like your pawn. The little hold that you have on your ex. That's wrong. You're damaging that kid from day one. Are you babying this kid because they need you or because you need them or you need to feel needed? Go find yourself a hobby and let your kid live their life. Just like you don't want people having an opinion about your life, your kid at some point is going to tell you, you know what, Mom? I love you. But you know what, Mom? Like, I feel like you're putting a lot of weight on me. And I feel like you're fogging my perception of my dad. If you're telling me these things. My mom didn't need to fog my perception of my dad. My dad showed it on his own. Took me to go buy drugs. I knew about my dad's habits before my mom even said a word to me. And she never let me talk bad about my dad. I hated my dad. But now I feel bad for him. I want to hold him and tell him that he's okay. because it's not his fault. And that's the thing that you start learning. You start letting go of resentment when you start to really analyze yourself, because you realize that everybody around you is a mirror. You realize that everybody around you is a different situation but the same feelings. That maybe a person that you were with or a friend that you had taught you not to trust everybody. Or maybe somebody, I don't know, like a teacher taught you that even people that are not your blood are gonna be somebody that you can trust. That it doesn't mean that you have to party with them in order to trust them. That it could be somebody that's boring as you may think as a teacher or something. I don't know. Teachers are not boring, but whatever nonsense idea you have at that age, that you encounter that person. Right? You're going to get the pushback. You're going to get that you've changed. But you're allowed to fire yourself from that job of being your parents' therapist, you know? You can still love them, but you have to resign from that position of their emotional husband or wife. I think it's hilarious. I used to think it was cute seeing little people that act like little people. Not little people, but like children that looked like little grown-ups because they act and talk all proper and stuff. And that's awesome. I feel like if you're going to talk to your kid, you should direct to him face to face at the same eye level. Yes, all these nonsense, all the stuff that I talk about may sound easier said than done, but you know what? It's easier to freaking deal with it for a few months and be many years happy than to be miserable and continue to be miserable and then have all your family be miserable, and then you're 50 years old and you're like, my kids don't call me. My kids don't come to see me. I don't even know my grandkids. What kind of a parent were you then? That says a lot about you as a person. How about your kids? Your kids are a reflection of your parenting. If they are away from you, that's probably because your kids know the type of person that you are. You guys have seen all those videos where like parents get that gift of I don't know, they get a gift from their kid that's like a dollhouse or something, right? And you see that parent's eyes light up, and it's like it makes you think of your parents, right? You know, my mom didn't get to play with any toys, and that makes me so sad. I remember playing with my mom Barbies, but now that I think about it, she's not one to play with little kids, like interact like that with them. And I thought that was weird, but now I understand that it's because she didn't. But she just never played with kids. She was around adults all the time. She's a smart woman. She's a little bit not that confident. She's a little insecure. But aren't we all? It's usually single moms that depend on their oldest kid to fix everything for them. Because they are responsible in one area, they think like, oh, you know what, my kid's gonna help me and I'm gonna ask them for help for everything, and I'm gonna tell them about. Yeah, it's cool to have your kids involved. It's cool to freaking tell them about your day. Encourage them to do something different, but that kid is still a kid. Let them freaking go and get their knees all scraped and fall on their face on the bike and get a rock stuck in their forehead like I did. Let them climb a tree. Take that tablet away from them, the PlayStation, man. Kids get sick so often because they don't build their immune system. Let them eat some dirt. You grew up fine, right? Your immune system is hell bomb. Do that for them. Don't overprotect them because you think you're doing something good for them. You're not. You're just creating baby adults. We're already kids throwing tantrums. Isn't that crazy when you see a grown-ass adult yelling like a little kid? You know what that tells me? That person, when him and his wife are arguing, he yells in order to get what he wants. And he pouts. And he stomps. That's freaking boring. That's freaking draining. I used to do those tantrums. Not ashamed to say it. It's embarrassing as hell. But we complain about everything that's going on right now in the world. Yet we are so resistant to change, to be out of our comfort zone, the uncomfortable. Or we're just scared. We're scared of that no. My boss used to tell me, what's the worst that can happen if they say no? There's next car is coming in. You got another appointment coming in. Or they'll come back. Think about it. Your body's an investment. Because without your body, without you being healthy, you can't work, you can't provide. You can't build anything for your kids. You can't reach your dreams, you can't do anything. Don't you think that just like you put all this effort, let's say, into a relationship, or you put all this effort into a car that you want to build, and you start to research things to try to find out more about this thing that you like, don't question yourself then whenever you ask why somebody left you. Or whenever you ask why nobody does this for you. Because you expect it. But you know what, man? People can't read your mind. Let go of other people's emotions. If you and your heart are at peace, then it's okay. People are going to push back when you say no. Because you're no longer being available for them whenever they want. People are going to get mad whenever you start doing the work. Why? Because they're not doing anything about it. They're still miserable. People are going to get mad when you start setting boundaries. Why? Because you're making them see the role they play in your life. The person that they've been, the person they know they are, but now you're speaking it. Now you're saying it out loud and they have to face it. Now they have to answer to somebody. It's not just themselves thinking it. And you can have all the mistakes in the world, man. You can be... But if you're really wanting to change yourself and you really want to stop a cycle, then work on yourself. Identify the things that make you mad. Identify the things that make you trigger. Identify the things that you can do to be a better person. Because let me tell you, when you find out what that is your purpose to teach others. That's the purpose of life. To be in a good state of mind yourself so you can allow yourself to lead others that way. To that state of mind. It doesn't matter what religion you are. We all have the same God. It's just different ways of practicing our beliefs. And what is the one thing that all religions have in common? Well, some of them actually say in my religion, they say to look out elsewhere. Or to external validation. No. Look within yourself. What's the movies like Simba and whatnot, Mufasa, Lion King, whatever, they tell you about looking within you, to not try to be somebody else that you're not, to take off the mask, to just be yourself. And that's crazy because the camera starts glitching whenever I talk about these things. But like, really, be yourself, and you're gonna rule out the people that don't belong in your life. And why are they there? Because they want to keep you available. Because you're useful for something. Not for your health, but for somebody's health, for something else. Your kids are sponges. I stayed too long in certain situations because I saw my mom do the same. Do I blame her? No. At that time, was I angry? Yes, because I didn't know anything. I hadn't gone through it myself. I didn't understand how hard it was. But that's why you go through all these things, because God is conditioning you to understand the other side so that you know what you needed and you know what to give. Don't just go and pour your emotions onto your kids and hope that they'll fix it or think that this is some sort of bonding. Maybe you guys are getting closer. Everybody gets to know more about you. But at some point, it's going to cause issues in your relationship because your wife is probably not going to be cool with that. Or because you're going to feel guilty and you're always going to be wanting more but feeling guilty. So you stay. Next thing you know, you're hella old and you feel like you don't have time. Whenever you're hitting rock bottom, think about all the things that you did, all the accomplishments that you've had, and all the times that you thought you were done, that you're at your lowest, that you're at your end. But you're still here. Maybe all these things that are happening are for a reason. Maybe you're supposed to be doing something with those things. Maybe it's conditioning you for a different timeline, that somebody that you really cares is going to need that support. So it's preparing you to know how to handle it with patience, with kindness, with wisdom. And it doesn't mean that you're better than everybody else because you're doing the work. No. It just means that you're willing to face your mistakes and to acknowledge your mistakes and to want to actually change. Because a lot of us can say, you know what, babe, I'm going to change. I'm not going to do that anymore. But everything's the same, but they just don't do that one thing, right? Man, start with little habits. I've been trying to do this. Look, yesterday I was an hour late. The day before that, I don't remember if I did it on time or not, but I'm pretty sure I was late. It's crazy because once I started to figure out what I truly wanted, I've always been very punctual and I've always prided myself with that. But this year, I just cannot make it on time. And it's the year that I've actually decided, you know what, this is the year that I'm going to do something. I'm going to build something. You wait and see, but I'm going to help people. Because I feel like that makes me happy. It makes me happy when a stranger or somebody that I had known for my whole life and thought so highly of comes to me, and not because I'm like, oh, this person is falling, no, but because they feel comfortable to come to me and talk to me. And that maybe they have this idea when I thought that I was invisible. You're not invisible. And you're not what everybody says that you are. People say things because they want what you have. Because there's something about you. There's always going to be something about you that people envy or that people want or wish they had. And they can all have it. It's just we need to be a little bit more confident ourselves. And wouldn't it be nice if we build our own confidence? And know how to set boundaries. Why? Because you end up with kids that hit their moms. Because I see, mijo, it's okay, mijo, you can do this. Ay, papi. Papi, my papi does this. Mira mi papi, que bonito. Shut up, mom, you're a bitch. Oh, it's so hilarious. Did you hear how he called me a bitch? No. In my house, I could have been a brat, and I know that at some point I said a bad word to my mom. But I thought long and hard before I said that, and I was probably already not living at home, because I would have been dead. And is that respect or is that fear? That's probably fear. Once you start to see how everything plays out around you, how the dynamic is around you, you start to realize, damn, like, all these external things weren't even the problem. It was all, like, when I was little. And it's things that I didn't even know I learned around me. And like I said, it doesn't mean that you don't love your parents. If you don't tell your kids about certain things between you and your husband or plans or finance, you know what the worst thing you can do is tell your kids about your finances. That's worry they don't need to have. Kids shouldn't know about money. They should know about responsibility about money, but they should know the lack of. They should know the worth and the consequences and how to manage. Teach them that. But don't tell them how you're worried about your bills. Because we as kids worry and we take that, we turn that into anxiety, we turn all of that into everything that you can think of. And then here we are at 36, not knowing how to regulate their emotions. I still have a lot of work to do, but I'm proud of how far I've gotten. And it's been a long time since I've said to myself, I don't think I've ever actually genuinely said to myself, hey, Rocio, I'm proud of you. But I'm starting to, especially this week, because regardless of how late I am, I'm still showing up. And that's what matters, right? I want you guys to be okay. I don't do these things to put anybody on blast. I share my experiences. And it's because I don't fit the mold. because I'm probably the person that you least expect. I didn't even expect doing this right now. If you had asked me, what are you going to be doing in 2026, I probably would have said something different. Never would I had ever imagined myself doing this. But I'm doing this because I'm tired of seeing people hurting. I'm tired of seeing people in the same cycle. I'm tired of hearing the same stories at work. I'm tired of everything. And you know what? If I want people to change, then maybe I should help those that really want to change. And tell them, hey, you know what, dude? Like, I hear you. I'm there with you. I feel the same way. I agree with you. And maybe, just maybe, from there something else comes. Ooh, I'll be right over, baby. But that's my goal. Here we are thinking that one person's going to come and save us one day. And that the end of times it is coming. My grandpa used to say, the person that dies has their own apocalypse going on. And if you think about it, if you're in a place where not all the chaos has gone, like, here we are blindly going towards something that at this point is hurting both sides. But all those people out there are somebody's kids. You're the father or the parent of somebody of those kids. You're probably one of the people that are going out there. And if you have that power to go out there, or that strength to go out there, or the courage to do it, because that's still something that I'm trying to gather, I'm proud of you. But use it wisely. Be safe. Promote what you are standing up for by not getting sucked into the things that you're fighting against. You know? We all make mistakes. I can tell you right now that my mom probably thinks I talk bad about her all the time in these. I don't. I talk about the things that hurt me, and I talk about the things that I want to fix because I love my family. But because I love my family, there's some family that maybe it's not the same. I can love my family from a distance too and not wish them anything bad. As long as I'm taking care of myself and I'm doing it in a way that it does not hurt others, by all means, I'm right there with you, kid. I'll see you guys later at 7. If you guys want to go deeper into this, if you guys have any questions, let me know. I appreciate you guys for watching. Like, share, follow. I'll try to post a little summary of this later. Be safe and get some lunch, man. Go eat some tortas or something, unos tacos. Va a comer, mijo, ándale.